Hi everyone, very quickly we're going to do a video looking at how to get a grade 4 if you got a grade 3 in November. So we're looking at the road, how to get, if you're on a grade 3 now, what are you going to do so at the end of this year you are getting a grade 4. And in this video in particular, we're just going to look at the reading. So paper 1 reading, paper 2 reading. So hopefully you come out with the assessment next time as cocky and as confident as this guy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the mistakes that people made in the reading paper, and we're going to talk about how we're going to make sure you don't do them. So like I say, we're just looking at the reading today. So the main mistakes as an overview in the reading exam was that people spent too much time was spent on low mark questions. So for example, people were writing more for a 5-mark question than they were for a 10-mark question. We need more quotes across the whole text. So for example, if you have, if you're reading an exam and it's read lines 10 to 40, you've got to make sure you take quotes across the whole of it, not just the first few lines. You need to take quotes from all over the place. And remember, if it's a 5-mark question, you're looking for 3 to 5 quotes. If it's a 10-mark question, you're looking for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quotes. Far too much feature spotting, which I will talk about later in the video. I'm going to try to keep this down to 5 minutes. And the main thing is, from looking at people's scripts, you need less explanation and more quotes. So for example, there's absolutely no need to give a quote and then have 7 or 8 lines describing it. Most of the time, have a quote, your explanation should only be 1 or 2 sentences, 1 or 2 lines, that is enough. This is a quote from the head examiner who says plenty of quotes gives the student high marks. So the head of the examiner, the head of the people who are marking these, that's what they're saying. So let's follow what they say. Quotes, quotes, quotes is the name of the game. So we're going to look at these individually. So the first one is too much time spent on low mark questions. This is the reading exam, paper 1, how much it is out of. So question 1 is out of 5, question 2 is out of 5, question 3 is out of 10, question 4 is out of 10, and question 5 is out of 10. So it's an exam that's out of 40. So if we look at these exams, these are 2 answers to a 5-mark question. The person on the left hasn't got into their head they need to do lots of quotes. They've only got 1 quote in their whole thing. Because of that, they can only get about 1 mark. The person on the right was just the same as English, just as skilled as the person on the left, but the only difference is they've got into their head good exam technique, and I'm going to do as many quotes as I can. This put 5 quotes, 5 marks. So if you look at this person, each quote, the explanation afterwards is only like a line or 2 lines. So this quote, 1 line to explain it. This quote here, 1 line to explain it. This one here, 1 line to explain it. Try to think of it as every time you put a quote and it's right, you'll get a mark. It doesn't matter if you do a quote with a 1-line explanation or a quote with a 10-line explanation. All you're doing on the one with a 10-line explanation is you're wasting time. So give a quote, 1 or 2 sentences to explain, and that is it. So, for example, this one here, this was someone's answer for a 5-mark question. And this is their answer for a 10-mark question. So, logically speaking, it is crazy to write double the amount on the left for a 5-mark question than it is for a 10-mark one. So we want this one here on the right, we want this one to be the big answer and the 5-mark one to be the low answer. This happened a lot in the exam. So remember, spend more time on the 10-mark questions than you do on the 5 ones. So more quotes needed across the whole text. So just to explain that a bit more, what I mean by this is what we don't want. We don't want 4 or 5 quotes, but you've only taken it from the first quarter or first third of the extract. You will get marked down for that. What we want it to happen is like this, where you've got quotes all the way through the extract. You haven't got too many quotes more, but you've just spaced them out and you're showing the examiner that you've read the whole extract, and you've also taken into account there might be a change in character. The character might change from the start of the extract up here to the bottom of the extract down there. Okay, the third one is far too much feature spotting. What I mean by feature spotting is you say, you pick out a quote and you go, this is alliteration, or this is repetition, or this is a simile, or this is onomatopoeia. You do not get any marks for spotting a technique. So you don't get any marks for going, that's a simile, that's an alliteration. So my advice would be just to completely ignore it. And when you're doing a quote, don't say, this verb tells me, or this adjective tells me. Just say, this word tells me. So this person here, for example, didn't get a mark for this, and she's put the metaphor. The metaphors, cameras are lifted, blah, 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 blah. If this person would have gone into detail and said why a metaphor is being used and what the effect is, they would have got a mark. But what they basically just put at the bottom is, this makes it more memorable. You're not going to get any marks for that. And first of all, and another thing you also get wrong is, you might get marked down as well if you get the wrong technique. So for example, the quote she's put here is actually a simile and she's written it as a metaphor. So if we look at an example question, how does the writer present the storm with the quote, the wind demolished against the trees? Okay, the wind demolished against the trees, or the wind demolished the trees. What does that tell me about the weather? Well, it tells me that it's breaking the trees to pieces, yeah? But if I look at these quotes, the word demolished makes the storm seem powerful and dangerous. So I would get a mark for that. It's really good because I picked out a quote, I picked out a word, and I've just said in one sentence why it's been used. This word has been used to show that the storm is powerful and dangerous. But what I saw in people's exams are people putting the verb demolish. So that's absolutely fine. You can do that. But in my opinion, there's absolutely no reason to do it, because in that case with the metaphor, the girl just wasted time. And what happens a lot of the time is you actually get the word wrong. So demolished is a verb, but a lot of people would have put things like the adjective demolished makes the storm seem powerful. So you're not going to get a mark for that. Even though you've written a good explanation, you might not get a good mark for it because you've messed up. You've put adjective instead of verb. So I would say, I've put a tick there. That's what you should do. I wouldn't bother putting verb or adjective or anything like that. Just put the word demolished and that will get you the mark. Okay, write less explanation, a lot of quotes. Okay, so what I mean by that is, I've talked about it already, but basically this explanation, which was about 3, 6, 9, almost like 13 lines, and they've only got one quote in there. So really, the maximum amount this person would get for this paragraph, this answer, would be 1 mark because they've only got one quote. So like I've said to you earlier in this little video, it's all about put a quote, little explanation. We want you to do a little about a lot of quotes as opposed to a lot about a small number of quotes. So that's what we don't want, and this is what we do want. So look at this one instead. So all the way through, they've put this one, a quote, they've explained it. This one, a quote, and they've explained it. This one, a quote of what they explained it. So all the way down, they've gone through, and really short, sharp explanation is what is going to get you to mark. So we don't want something like this, which happens so much for grade 3 students, where you put one quote and you explained it 7 or 8 times. If you are doing an explanation that lasts 7 or 8 lines, all it means is you're repeating the point. Don't repeat the point, do it like this, give me a quote, say it's why it's been used, move on to your next quote. So this person here would have got 1 for that, and this person here would have got 5. 5 quotes, 5 marks, 1 quote, 1 mark. Okay, so here are some other examples that if you want to pause the video, you can read. But these are people who got sort of grade 4, 5 or 6. I just wanted to show you this, that all the way through, it's quote, 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 quote. So this person's got 7 quotes in about 8 lines as opposed to the previous person who had 1 quote in 13 lines. So like I say, again, this is how I want you to structure it. Short and sharp quotes. Yeah, again, this person quotes all the way through. Again, this person here, 2 or 3 lines. This one here, the way she burst into tears shows me she's a very emotional person. Absolutely perfect, will get a mark. What impression you get of the character? Well, my quote is burst into tears. What does that tell me about the character? It tells me she's emotional. So the person has picked a quote and say why it's been used. Absolutely perfect. Again, this one here, 2 or 3 lines per quote. Again, this one here, 2 or 3 lines per quote. Again, this one's got loads of quotes. So again, to recap on the reading, what we're going to do to get a grade 4 is you're going to spend more time on the high mark questions, more quotes needed across the whole text, far too much feature spotting, so I don't want you to say anything's personification or onomatopoeia. Just say this word suggests, and we want less explanation and lots of quotes. So we want you to write a little about a lot of quotes as opposed to a lot about a lot and a small amount of quotes. Okay, so go back to the lesson now and we'll carry on with it.